Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here, coming at you with another video, and today I'm going to be telling you guys about my review of the new Nintendo 3DS. Now, before we get started, you guys will notice that my voice is probably slightly different than what you're used to. That is because I am sick. As a matter of fact, I haven't been this sick in ages. I haven't felt this bad in quite some time, which is why I haven't been doing long videos recently. I'm trying to stick to shorter videos so that I don't strain my throat all that much. You'll also see me stop to catch my breath multiple times because my nose is completely clogged up and all kinds of bad things. But yes, today we're going to be talking about the new Nintendo 3DS. Like I said, I'm going to be doing my review of it, and bear in mind that this is going to be based around the regular version, not the XL version. Like, some of the things that I'm going to say here do not apply to the 3DS XL. I'm going to try to mention those as we go through this video. And bear in mind that this is the first 3DS console ever that I'm actually reviewing, so I never really used the old model of the 3DS, but I am aware of some of the exclusive features that only apply to the new 3DS, so I'm going to try to separate those to give you guys a better idea. So for starters, we're going to start with features that are for the 3DS as, how should I put this? Just for the 3DS itself, not necessarily features that are for the new 3DS. And I have to say that one of the biggest things about this console, probably not the biggest thing, but one of the biggest things about this console for me has been its portability. And again, this is something that is probably not going to apply as much to the 3DS XL because it is supposedly considerably bigger. But for this version, this thing is incredibly portable. Like, this fits in the pocket of my pants. And one of the reasons why I really think that the portability really works for this console is the fact that you can close it up to protect the screens. Like, you'll notice that you got two screens on this console. Obviously, it's a 3DS. The DS portion indicates dual screen. So obviously you're not going to put it in your pocket like this, but once you close it up, it becomes incredibly portable, and you can leave it anywhere essentially without ever risking damaging your screens because it's closed. Unless you friggin' smash it or something, I don't think you're going to be destroying the screens on this console once you close it down. And that to me was a big deal because, as you guys know, I also own a PlayStation Vita, and that is something that, for instance, I never leave outside of a case. Why? Because it's got no protection for the screen. As a matter of fact, one of the first things I did when I bought my PlayStation Vita was to buy, you guys probably can't see it, but I bought like a protective plastic thingy that you can put on top of the screen precisely to protect the screen from becoming scratched and damaged and whatnot if I ever happen to leave the console lying around. Also, it is clearly not as portable as the 3DS because, I mean, it's bigger, and beyond being bigger, you also have the issue that the thumbsticks stick out, so you're not going to be putting this in your pocket. At least I wouldn't really advise it. I always carry it in a case whenever I take it with me. So yeah, that is one of the big pluses for me when it comes to 3DS. Now, obviously, portability also comes with additional features when it comes to the 3DS, in case you guys weren't aware. 3DS has a pedometer feature, which I haven't been able to use because I haven't left the house in quite some time on account of the fact that I've been sick. So I'm going to try and show you guys on the camera here. If you notice on the very upper section there, you'll notice that there's a number of coins, and then there is also a couple of feet that pop up every now and then. So that indicates how many steps you've taken with the DS closed. So once you close the DS like that, it activates the pedometer feature, which basically counts how many steps you've taken, which is one of those things that you can put this on your cell phone. There's apps for that. I have an app for that on my iPhone, which allows me to count how many steps I do. But the thing about the 3DS is that beyond counting your steps, it rewards you for taking those steps. So if you notice, beyond the feet, you'll also notice that every now and then a couple of coins will show up. So those are coins that you get for walking and taking the 3DS with you. Now, these coins can be used in certain titles, not all of them. A title that I've noticed allows you to use these coins is Animal Crossing New Leaf. It allows you to use coins to purchase certain items and whatnot. And I find that to be an interesting thing because it's like, stay healthy, walk a little bit, take your console with you, and you get a couple of coins that you can then use to buy stuff in certain games. I'm assuming that most of that stuff is going to be for Nintendo-specific games, which is Animal Crossing, which is the only one that I've actually seen. But I think that maybe Smash Brothers has it too. I haven't played a lot of Smash Brothers yet, so I don't really know. Now, beyond the pedometer feature, another thing that your 3DS does for you is it has this thing called Street Pass. Now, this was also present in previous 3DS models. And essentially what it does is when you go through, when you're walking down the street and you walk through someone that also has a 3DS, the 3DSs are going to connect to each other, and you're going to receive that person's Mii, which is their avatar for the console, and they are going to receive yours. Usually that avatar will come with a message or something, and beyond that, you can then use those avatars in little mini games which are accessible through the Mii Plaza, which I believe has been somewhat augmented on the new 3DS. Now that is just a very simplistic feature, but it is somewhat of a reason to carry it around with you, I feel, because I mean, you got the pedometer feature, you got the coins feature, and you got the Street Pass thing. So it's interesting. It's not like it's going to dramatically change your gaming experience, but it's definitely a feature that I find interesting. Now, unfortunately, where I live, there's apparently not a whole lot of people with 3DSs because I've been walking a lot. Whenever I go on a walk or something that I happen to take my coat with me, I just put the 3DS in there and I just take it with me, and I haven't gotten a single Street Pass hit, which is very, very disappointing. But I believe these are particularly useful, the Street Pass thing and whatever, are particularly useful if you're going to a con, like, say, a PAX event or something like that. That is where I hear a lot of people get their Street Pass thing going for whatever reason. Obviously, because there's tons of gamers over there, and there's probably tons of people with 3DSs. Now, again, I don't know how practical this is if you have the 3DS XL, because, again, it's bigger, it's not as portable as the regular one. But if you are able to carry it with you, I would advise you to do so, because it is pretty useful, at least in my opinion. The other thing that this console has that should be pretty obvious is the fact that it's got dual screens. Now, I've mentioned this before, DS, dual screens, but I wanted to mention something specific about the dual screens that I really like. I like the fact that the touch screen is on the bottom so that the display screen is on the top. And why is this important? I've never been a big fan of touching a screen that's got the display of the game that I'm playing, because your fingers tend to cover up the game that you're playing, essentially. I've never been a big fan of that, and it is one of the main reasons why I'm not a huge fan of playing mobile games on cell phones and stuff like that. I'm not a fan of those at all. So I really like the fact that this one's got the touchscreen on the bottom. And another thing that I like is the fact that you don't even have to use your fingers if you don't want to, because in case you guys don't know, I mean, human hands have a little bit of grease and whatnot. It's just natural. Everybody's got it. And when you touch your screen, you leave your fingerprints all over it. So I think the stylus is actually a very elegant solution for using a touch screen. Now, naturally, certain games, you're not going to be pulling out the stylus all the time. You're going to be using your own fingers just to press the stuff and whatnot. But I like having the option for the stylus there, and it's pretty cool, in my opinion, at least. Something that I think is a bit of a downside to the 3DS, I'm not sure if this is exclusive to the new 3DS or not, but was the fact that it only saves 3 wireless connections. Only 3? Why? Like, I don't think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, most devices these days allow you to save a ridiculous amount of wireless connections. Like, my Vita has no limits to the amounts of wireless connections it can save. My phone can also save ridiculous amounts of wireless connections. 3DS can only save 3. Now, just in my house, I have 2 different wireless connections that I use with my 3DS, which leaves me for 1 wireless connection when I'm outside of my house. So I already have a 3rd wireless connection from my parents' house, and that pretty much fills it up, which means that every time I want to go somewhere else, I'm going to have to delete one of those connections and save a new one, which I find it's a little bit of an oversight. It should allow you to save more than just 3 wireless connections. I don't understand the reasoning behind that. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me. Now, another thing that I see as a big advantage is the fact that you can actually replace the battery on this device, which is not really the case for something like, say, the PlayStation Vita. I mean, you can change the battery on the PlayStation Vita if you really want to, but I think you're probably going to void warranty, and it's something that you might want to avoid. And why is it important that you're able to change your battery? Well, because depending on your charging habits and whatnot, eventually your battery can become less than optimal, and it can start losing its durability and whatnot. So you can actually change it fairly easily by unscrewing these 2 screws over here from the back faceplate. And doing so will allow you to change your battery as well as change your memory card. Now, that is actually a disadvantage when compared to the previous model of the 3DS, because I believe that on the previous models, you could change your memory card very easily, the same way that you could change kind of like your game cartridges, because I think it was somewhere in the front, and you would be able to just change it. And now you have to actually unscrew the back faceplate in order to change your card. However, it does support the new micro SD cards, which I just stuck a 64 gig card in here, which could be somewhat challenging if you don't know a whole lot about formatting these cards in FAT32, because the console only supports cards in FAT32. And at the moment, the only cards that come pre-formatted in FAT32, which means cards that are good to go once you buy them, are 32 gigs. When you buy a 64 gig micro SD card, it's actually going to come formatted in exFAT or whatever. And I had to spend quite some time downloading apps and whatnot to enable me to format it in FAT32, because Windows 7 doesn't let you just format one of these cards in FAT32. So it was a very tedious process, but I eventually got it done, and now I have a 64 gig card installed onto my new 3DS. While we're on the topic of removing the faceplates, I should also mention now this is a feature exclusively to the new 3DS and only for the regular size new 3DS. So this will not work on a 3DS XL, but you can have faceplates on these new 3DSs, interchangeable faceplates that you can easily replace. You will notice that it's got a little, I don't even know how to call these things. It's got a little bit of an indent there that you can just use to open that baby up if you want to, and remove the faceplate, and you can replace that with another one. Now, I currently only have 2 sets of faceplates. The edition that I have of this console is the Ambassador Edition, so it comes with a special set of faceplates for Super Smash Brothers, which you guys can see here. I'm not sure. Yeah, this is the proper way to show it. You guys can see here that is one of the faceplates. For the back faceplate, though, I would have to unscrew it and then screw this one, which is the other one. So the back one, or the bottom one, whatever you want to call it, you will have to unscrew 2 screws. They stay attached to the faceplate, though, so you're not going to be losing these small screws. And you just unscrew those and screw a different faceplate on, and you can interchange them. Now, they're doing tons and tons of faceplates that you're going to be able to use to customize your new 3DS. As a matter of fact, something that I was wondering is if I could get someone to like paint me an Iron Breaker set of faceplates, that would be awesome, but I haven't really thought that through. I'm not sure how they would be able to do it. And then you would have to like use maybe some varnish or something to prevent it from scratching and whatnot. So I don't know, but that would be really cool, like actually customizable faceplates that you would be able to draw on. Now that is something very, very appealing. But I don't think that is what they had in mind. They just want to sell you stuff like Luigi faceplates or Mario faceplates. There's also, I believe, a Majora's Mask 3D faceplate that looked really cool from what I saw. So yeah, faceplates, they're a thing for the new 3DS. They're exclusively for the new 3DS and only on the regular size version. The reason they mentioned is that the 3DS XL, they wanted it to have a more luxury feel, so they didn't want to have the faceplates on that one. I'm not exactly sure if I agree with that, but that's what they said. Now, another feature that is exclusive to the new 3DS is the little C-stick that you have here. This is this very much, sorry, trying to put it in the camera there, this thing. This very much works like a, if you guys ever fooled around with one of those Lenovo laptops, for instance, they usually have these things. It's a replacement for a cursor on laptops, and this thing has been on a lot of laptops, something that looks a lot like the C-Stick. And I've seen several people, oh, my screens went dead. No, I've lost my lighting. I've seen several people use these things on laptops, and on the new 3DS, I've used it a little bit. And what I have to say is it feels exactly like it feels on those laptops. It's not incredibly practical to use, but it's pretty decent for camera movement. However, if you get into a shooter scenario where you're using this to actually aim like a gun reticule or something, I think it's going to be a little bit more problematic. However, unfortunately, the number of games that I have available on the console right now, which is considerable, I don't have any any first-person shooter or anything like that, so I haven't run into that problem yet. What I've mostly been using it for is to control the camera in Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, and I don't really have many problems controlling it there. So on that aspect, it works just fine. Something else that you will notice is that you have some extra trigger buttons. You got this one, and this one, this one, and this one, whereas the previous one only had one on each side. This one's got 4, and I have to say it is actually a little bit awkward. None of the titles that I currently have on the console use both buttons for different functionalities, so I haven't really had to use them. But they feel a little bit awkward because of their positioning, because, I mean, usually your fingers will be like this. So, I mean, you would have to press in the middle of your finger to get one of the other ones, and then the tip of your finger to get the inner ones. So I don't know exactly how that is going to work out. We will have to wait and see with as I get access to more titles. But you do have these extra trigger buttons, so more inputs. I kind of feel that more inputs are always good, particularly when this console has an additional C-Stick for shooters and stuff like that. And you also have these additional triggers. So, I mean, you have additional inputs, which give the developers a lot more options with what they can do to the console without necessarily having to force you to use a Circle Pad Pro, which a lot of people have told me is not the best thing ever. Now, the other thing I wanted to hit on is the 3D. Now, naturally, I'm not going to be able to show you guys the 3D because once I turn 3D on, all you're going to really see is like this image that is constantly shifting out of focus. But the new 3DS comes with a new 3D system, which is called the Super Stable 3D. Now, in the past, I've heard several people say that usually they just turn off the 3D on the 3DS because they consider it to be somewhat of a gimmick and they just prefer to play most of the games in 2 dimensions. Now, I have to say that I found that not to be the case with me at all. Usually I keep the 3D blasted all the way up because with the Super Stable 3D technology, what happens is this camera that you guys see right here, and you'll notice that it's got another little dot thingy next to it. It is a camera and an infrared light. Now, what this does is it tracks the positioning of your eyes and it adapts the 3D to kind of like give you a better, what they call a sweet spot. Now, the sweet spot is where you get the full effect of the 3D from the console. Now, in the previous 3DS, you had to hold it just like that, and keep it in this position always, never move it. And that was a problem because, I mean, obviously when you're playing, you tend to move the console a little bit. And every time you moved, the 3D effect would kind of like disappear. So you had to hold it in a certain position. And that position would be the sweet spot. Now, with Super Stable 3D, what happens is you got the camera tracking the position of your eyes and adapting what the 3D effect should be like to the position that your eyes are looking at, thus improving that sweet spot immensely, which is really, really good because it keeps you immersed into the game in 3D without you having to do as much effort as you previously had to. And then you have the infrared thing, which helps the camera track your eyes even in dimly lit areas. Now, in case you guys are wondering about glasses, as you guys can see, I wear glasses, and glasses have never really been a problem to Super Stable 3D as far as I can tell. Now, I can see the 3D effect break every now and then, particularly if I'm looking away from the console. When I look back, you can see the 3D is like a little bit broken and then it fixes itself because the console is constantly adapting depending on the position of your eyes. And so if you're constantly looking away from the console, that is going to be a problem. Like, for instance, I've had a couple of times that I was playing Monster Hunter 4, and I was, watching some TV while I was playing, because Monster Hunter 4 can be somewhat grindy, let's be honest. So I was playing Monster Hunter 4 and I was watching some TV, and every time I would focus back on a console, like, the 3D would break. So for those occasions, yes, I would switch off the 3D and would just become 2D and whatever and keep on going from there. But I would have to say that I largely prefer playing in 3 dimensions, because it almost gives you the illusion that the screen is actually bigger than what it seems. And when you are in full 3D and you go from that and you switch it off to 2D, I can tell that, like, I look at the game and it just doesn't seem as good as it seemed in 3D. But again, that is my personal experience so far. I've only used the console for a couple of weeks. So I'm not, like, super experienced in 3DS's 3D technology or whatever. But, like, playing Monster Hunter and playing other titles, like, I've played a lot of Mirror of Fate as well. Playing those titles, I've kept the 3D on most of the time, and I much prefer playing the game that way than turning it off. I mean, you can still play the game with the screen obviously in 2D if you want to, but I'm not exactly sure why you would want to do that, because it's like I said, it just gives you almost the illusion that the screen actually feels bigger than what it actually is. Speaking of the size of the screen, while we're there. The new 3DS, this is the regular version. The new regular version of the 3DS actually has a bigger screen than its predecessor. So if having a bigger screen is something that you were looking forward to, this would be the puppy to get. The 3DS XL, I believe, has an even bigger screen than its predecessor as well. But to me, this screen size is just fine. And the fact that you have to possibly sacrifice portability to get a bigger screen, I'm not exactly sure that I would support that as much as the regular version. So yeah, this one has a bigger screen than the previous 3DS. I mean, you can see, because the 3DS, you had both screens were the same size, if I'm not mistaken. The bottom screen would be the same size as the top one. And in here you have the top one that is slightly bigger than the bottom one. And once you get the 3D effect going, like I said, it just feels like the screen... The depth that you get from looking into the screen in 3D, I feel plays a big part in my enjoyment of these games. But again, personal opinion. Your mileage may vary. There's obviously certain people that won't be able to see the 3D because maybe they have some kind of problem in their eyes and whatnot. So that is something to consider. However, while we're on the subject of screens and whatnot and graphics and all that stuff, if we are talking about raw graphics, just raw graphical power, the 3DS still can't hold a candle to the PlayStation Vita. The PlayStation Vita, just when it comes to raw resolution, is just still way better. But again, this is if you are looking exclusively at graphics, then that's really all I can say. The Vita has more resolution, it's got better pixel density, and it's just better in terms of graphics. But then again, that doesn't really say a lot, does it? Because I was watching a video recently where they were talking about the sales numbers. I'm not sure how accurate this is at this point, but like there have been, I believe there was something like 43 million units sold of 3DS and only 4 million units sold of Vitas, and I was just like, that's kind of weird. But it does kind of show you that, graphical power isn't everything, particularly when it comes to handhelds, I guess. But yeah, bigger screen, but still no match for the Vita screen. Vita screen is just way better, in my personal opinion. However, there is the advantage of the fact that you have the touch screen on the bottom instead of having to actually touch the display screen, which is the way the Vita one works. So again, this might vary depending on your personal preferences. Another feature that the new 3DS has is automatic brightness, which this will adapt the brightness of your console to the lighting of the area that you're in. Now, personally, I switched this off. I didn't switch it off instantly. I used it for a while, and then I had to switch it off because it was constantly changing the brightness of my games, regardless of the brightness of the room that I was in changing. I think that technology still needs a little bit of work. I think it's not working quite as well as intended. Even if I'm sitting perfectly still, every now and then I would see the brightness change. Like it would either dim down, like I would assume because it would think that I was in a less well lit environment, because then you can lower the in a darker environment, because then you could lower the brightness and it wouldn't be very noticeable. But I was actually in well-lit environments, and when it lowered the brightness, it was very, very annoying. So I've turned that off, and I've kept my brightness at 3, which is pretty much enough for most scenarios. You can change brightness from 1 to 5, I believe, and keeping it at 3 was pretty much the best the best setting for most situations where I've used my console. Another thing that is exclusive to the new 3DS is Meebo Compatibility. So you can flat out plop these amiibos on the touch screen and they will just work directly. I believe they're coming out eventually with a peripheral so that you can do that with the older 3DSs. But this one you can just plop that down in the touch screen and it should work fine. Which, speaking of which, I believe that this is a really rare amiibo in America. Am I right? Doesn't that suck? I just went to the store, bought this one. Oh man, I'm being such a douchebag right now. No, my intention was to actually buy 2 of these and give one away, but I only found one, so sorry. I ended up just buying one for myself. But as you can see, my intentions were noble. I wanted to buy 2 of them and give one away to you guys, but unfortunately I wasn't able to do that. The other thing that the new 3DS has is it's got a faster processor, so you will notice that, say, when you're downloading games, you can download games faster because of its newer processor. I'm not going to show you any downloads or ever because my internet sucks, so I don't think you would notice that many differences. I'm not sure if this was available in the other 3DS, but this one allows you to download stuff while it is in sleep mode. So while you put something to download and then say, finish download sleep mode, you close down your console, it starts downloading, which is really useful, in my opinion at least, because I like having my devices just download stuff on the background. Like I have, in terms of consoles, I have a Wii U, a PlayStation 3, and a PlayStation 4, obviously a PlayStation Vita as well, and a 3DS. I have all these things, and I always try to keep them on and tell them, look, just download whatever you want to download in the background, go ahead, update yourself, patch yourself, do whatever. I like that. I like that convenience. I know a lot of people are like, oh no, I want it to do it when I want to do it. It's like, I have an unlimited internet plan, so I don't care about how much traffic these consoles are doing on my bandwidth. I don't really care about any of that. And my internet might be slow, but since it's unlimited, it's whatever. Just take up as many bandwidth as you want and download and update yourself, do all the things. I like having that convenience. That is a personal preference thing. Speaking of which, you'll notice that it's got this little black thing here on top. I'm not sure if the previous 3DS had that as well, but this is actually an LED light that blinks whenever you get a notification. Whenever you get, let's say maybe there's an update for a game or something, this thing will start blinking and tell you, you should update this game, or maybe a download's finished or whatever, this thing will blink, which is pretty useful. And if you have the Cradle, which I do because this was from the Ambassador Edition, you'll notice that once you plop this baby on the Cradle, the light will, it actually has like a cut here that allows you to show that shows you the notification light so that you can always know what's happening with your console and whatnot. Speaking of that, the Cradle is also pretty cool. It keeps the console in an upright position, which I believe this is the first Cradle to do something like that. But yeah, all in all, I really appreciate the new 3DS. I like it. There's also going to be a couple of titles that are going to be exclusive for this one. The only title that has been announced for that so far is Xenoblade Chronicles, which is a title that I'm actually curious for playing because I never played it on the Wii, and I'm very curious for trying it out on the 3DS, particularly with the 3D effects and all that. So I'm curious to see how that is going to perform. But that is definitely a title that I'm going to be playing on the new 3DS. And if you are passionate about Xenoblade Chronicles, that is another reason for you to get it. The other title, which is the main title, the main reason why I bought this console is the Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. Now that is not exclusive to the 3DS. to the new 3DS model, but it is very handy to have the C stick for camera movement, because using the touchpad and whatnot, or using a Circle Pad Pro, is not what I would consider very optimal. So that is the reason, that is the main reason why I actually bought a new 3DS, was Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. And that is going to be the next game that we're going to be talking about on the series of Khan's new 3DS. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I have an unboxing video of this as well that I've uploaded to TGN, which I should be showing you guys like an annotation thing somewhere around here that will allow you to click there if you are curious about the unboxing and all the stuff that came with the Ambassador Edition. Although you probably can't buy the Ambassador Edition, it is still a pretty cool product to take a look at least in my personal opinion. And that is a video that I was really proud of when I did it, because it wasn't like it was a terrible amount of work, but I really liked the end result of it. So if you guys haven't seen that yet, really advise you guys to check it out and let me know what you guys thought about that. I'd also like to leave, once again, a shout out to Meus Jogos DS, which were the guys who got the 3DS for me. I basically worked that out with Nintendo. Nintendo put me in touch with these guys who had invites to buy the Ambassador Edition of the new 3DS that they weren't going to be using. And their website is meusjogosds.blogspot.com. I'm going to put a link to that in the description. Once again, if you are Portuguese and you are playing any DS console, I would advise you to check them out. They're pretty cool. And even if you're not Portuguese, just go ahead, go over there and thank them. They're also very responsible for me being able to do this review of the new 3DS. Unfortunately, the 3DS does not have a capture unit, so I will not ever be able to capture footage directly from this unit. But I'm going to try to work out a format to show you guys some games and whatnot and how they play on the 3DS. But it is mostly going to be camera stuff. So sorry about that, but these are the limits that I currently have. Anyways, this has been Rurikhan with a review of the new 3DS. I personally am really pleased with it so far. I've been taking it with me all over the place because of, like I said, its increased portability. I've had it at the hospital when my wife was having the baby. I had it with me so that whenever she was sleeping or whenever she was taking a break, I would like pop up the 3DS and play a little bit. I've had it all over the house. Like if I'm in the living room, I'll just put it over there or whatever. I've had it in the bedroom, everywhere. I've had this damn thing everywhere. So yeah, this has been the review of the new 3DS. As per usual, leave me your comments, feedback, all that kinds of good stuff in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.